Information doing rounds is that the Ghanaian youths are also mobilizing for a nationwide protest against bad governance in their country. And they are planning to start also on the 21st to the 23rd of September 2024. And when we look at the kind of wave that is moving, remember, we have always been saying this family that this is going to be a wave, and this wave is going to flash all across the whole of Africa. We are going to be seeing all governments that are dictatorial, all governments that are not caring, all bad governments are going to be swept away. Remember, we've always been saying this. And when I was talking about the issue of Kenya, I said, watch what is going to be happening soon after Kenya. We are also going to be seeing this wave. And it's coming to Zimbabwe. Emerson Mnangagwa must not relax. He must not sleep with a golden teaspoon in his mouth, because things are going to get bad very, very soon. The Zimbabwean people are also going to be rising against dictatorship and oppression. And this is the wave of change that God has just set out there for the African nations. And African nations are going to be freed. All dictatorship governments are going to go down. All those that are oppressing their own people, stealing from their own people, siphoning riches from their own people, they are going to go down. So now we were talking about Kenya, and the government of Kenya finally bowing down to the pressure of the citizens. Unfortunately, the citizens have not had enough. They are saying, no, we are not going to accept the president coming out and sending condolence messages to families that have lost their loved ones, and of course promising the nation that is not going to be signing the finance bill into law. They are saying that is not enough. We want you gone, and that is it. That is exactly what we've been also encouraging the Kenyan citizens and the Kenyan youth to say, no, it's not enough for that man to say that. That man must go. Yes, we don't want politicians that are killing citizens, innocent citizens, unarmed citizens, defenseless citizens, and you shoot them with live ammunition. We are not going to be allowing that in Africa. Africans have reached a time that we need to unite, all of us, against any kind of dictatorship and autocracy. We want to fight against that, to make sure that we come up with a new breed and a new species of leaders who are going to be understanding the needs of the people of Africa. And Africa must unite. Africa must rise. Africa must not have black people oppressing other black people. No. We went through colonialism. We were oppressed by the white people. And now we have our own black brothers and sisters in government. And look at what they are doing to us. We are not going to be accepting that. That is a no-go area. Any government that wants to be rogue, any government that wants to shoot people, to kill its own people, to starve its people, arrest and torture its own people, is not going to see the light of day. We are going to continue calling for every nation that has a dictatorship government or a bad governance to rise against that and resist that. We want the whole of Africa to be swept by a wind of change. Wind of change is already blowing, and we are seeing it happening all over. We are seeing things changing. South Africa, things have changed. Zambia, things changing. Malawi, things changing. Zimbabwe must also change. We are looking at Mozambique. We are looking at the DRC. We are looking at Botswana. We are looking also in East Africa, in West Africa, in Central Africa. Wherever there are these dictators, they must fall, until we should have younger people that are coming into positions of power who are going to be doing things for the sake of their citizens, for the sake of the development of their nations. It is very sad to find that we have these old leaders who have always been there in Africa, and these leaders have refused to rebuke or to correct each other. They want to continue to support other leaders that are doing bad in their own nations. And we've been talking about this issue. Yesterday, we were talking about the issue of the Pan-Africanists, and we were saying, where are the Pan-Africanists while Ruto is shooting and killing people with live ammunition in Kenya? And where are the other world leaders? Where are the other African leaders? Okay, fine. We could say world leaders may care less about what happens in Africa. What about the African leaders? We never saw even a single African leader who stood up and said, stop shooting your people, stop killing your people. Nobody is doing that. And that is what we are going to be fighting against as African people. We want caring leaders that are able to look at what is happening in other nations, and they have to intervene if there is oppression, if there is the infringement of human rights in any country, those other African countries must not support it, must not turn a blind eye, must not behave as if they can't see, they see no evil, they hear no evil. That is not the stance. We want a new Africa. The whole of the politics of Africa must change. We must start to have our people, our ordinary citizens of African nations joining hands. We need to know what is happening in Kenya. We need to know what is happening in Nigeria. We want to know what is happening in Tanzania. We want to know what is happening in Ghana. We want to know what is happening in Tunisia. We want to know what is happening in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in Namibia, everywhere else. We want to be putting our ears on the ground, communicating. I wish those that are in the news media or even on social media, we can begin to connect throughout Africa and share information about what is happening in different nations so that we can conscientize each other about the oppression, if ever there's oppression of bad governance or some government that is stealing from its people. Then we can now be coordinating and helping one another in ideas of how best we can deal with the leadership that is elected into office, and they forget their mandate. They forget why they've been elected into those offices, and they start oppressing their own people, fighting against their own people, destroying the lives of their own people, and enriching themselves. That is not going to be acceptable. So we are still saying we need freedom in all other countries where freedom has not been realized. As for Zimbabwe, Zimbabweans have been under this dictatorship and this autocratic rule for the past 44 years. That is a lifetime. And somebody must stand up. Somebody must resist. Somebody must draw a line in the sand and say enough is enough. Africans must also be available to support the Zimbabwean people when and as and when Zimbabwean people would want to stand against the oppression in ZANU-PF. In Zimbabwe, that ZANU-PF is perpetrating. The human rights abuses of Emmerson Mnangagwa must be highlighted throughout, even in other countries. We want also other bloggers announcing this to the whole world so that oppression of men by men can be eradicated. Oppression and the extrajudicial killings by governments must come to an end. And this is a fight that we have to fight in Africa until Africa realizes itself and finds itself as a democratic continent, a continent that cares for its own people, for its own citizens. And there's going to be prosperity in every nation of Africa. Eradicate poverty and educate our people, feed our people, and uplift our people in terms of businesses, in terms of economic activities. That is the Africa that we want, not what we are seeing happening with these old leaders who want to continue to support each other in their deeds of evil. Their end has come, and God wants to set Africa free. And we are standing with the move of God, praying for Africa, praying for nations of Africa, praying for a new leadership that will come to take over the wrongs that we have seen being done by these old Madalas. They must go. Their time is over. Their time is expired. So thank you, family, for joining me on the show. Subscribe to the channel, like and share. If you enjoy what we are discussing on the channel, please put a like and also put a comment. We also want to hear what you have to say about the information and the topics that we are discussing each time that we are sharing with you. So remain blessed. We are going to be meeting in the next updates.